What happened? Why it paused? Just a moment. I don't know what happened. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, welcome everybody to session number 19. And we are going to discuss verse number 18 today. So, let's start with the background of this text. Okay. I made little bit of changes today. So this is the text is actually Updesh to Mimansis or Karma Kandis, and these are the Karma Kandis who believed their belief was that it is the action which produces the results, and the results give us happiness, and that's why action is supreme. I am the one who's doing all these actions, so God has no role to play in all this. So that was the belief of Mimansis. And in a sense, we are all these Mimansis or Karma Kandis because whole life we are also keep performing actions and try to get little bit of happiness here and there. So we also feel that the objective of life is to perform some actions and get some results and be happy for some time. So Lord Shiva gave them an Upadesh saying, action cannot give everlasting happiness. You may be getting some happiness out of the results that you produce through actions, but this happiness is only fleeting happiness, only momentary. These actions will never give you everlasting happiness. And the only way to get this happiness, which is infinite and eternal, and which will liberate us from the sorrows, this kind of happiness you will get only through knowledge. Okay, and today we are not going to go verse by verse for revision. We will actually, for a change, we will take it at the end. Okay. So in last session, we discussed verse number 17, where Bhagavan told us that you need to inquire into what is this mind, and you will realize that there is nothing called mind, and this is the direct approach to self-realization. So the approach that Bhagavan is suggesting is usually when there is a problem, we try to find a solution for the problem. And the example here is of that rope and a snake. The rope is lying on a pitch dark night on the road, and somebody takes it as a snake. So, how he reacts to this snake depends on his tendencies, on the tendencies of that person. If the person is of tamasic tendencies, then he imagines that snake to be ferocious and poisonous. So he is afraid, he develops fear and wants to run away from that snake. The second kind of person has Rajasic tendencies. So when he sees snake, he also imagines it to be ferocious and poisonous. But being of Rajasic tendency, his reaction is to try to beat that snake with a stick. So he searches around for a stick and wants to kill the snake. So basically, he wants to fight this snake. And then there is third type, which are sattvic tendency people who want to inquire and see for themselves whether really there is a snake or it's just something else. So these people with sattvic tendency, they tend to inquire into the nature of the problem, and when they do that, they realize that there is no snake there, and the actual reality of that thing is a rope. So Bhagwan is also suggesting this approach. Like we always feel that mind is a problem, It is very difficult to control the mind. And since mind is all the time agitated, I face problems in this world. So we want to actually control or manage the mind so that we will be able to uh, uh, interact in this world in an effective manner. But Bhagavan says, like, don't think that mind is a problem. First of all, try to inquire into this mind, and that's what we discussed in the last session. And in this context, we also discuss Sat and Asat. So, according to Vedanta, Sat or the reality is something which which exists all the time, that is in all three time periods, yesterday, today, and also tomorrow. And also, it doesn't undergo any change at all. So, anything which fits this description, that only can be called Sat or reality. Vedanta also talks about asat, non existent things. So, examples are like tail of a man or horns of a rabbit. I mean, we can talk about it, but such things never exist, neither yesterday, nor today, nor tomorrow. So, these are non existent or asat. But then there are some things which cannot be classified either as Sat or Asat, and they are called Mithya or illusion. It is neither real nor non existent. And we took the example of like a dream. In dream, we experience another world, different things, and we do experience it. So we cannot call it Asat, but at the same time it doesn't fit the description of Sat. That is, it doesn't change. Dream keeps changing, and it is only moment for the hours that we sleep, and we are in that dream state. So it neither qualifies at Asat or Sat. So it is called Mithya or illusion. We do experience it, but we cannot call it Sat. And in this context, again, like we discussed, three levels of reality. So the dream, which I was just talking about, it's called empirical reality or pratibhasik satya. So it is the lowest level of reality. The the level of reality higher than this is the waking world, and that is also called as Vyavaharik Satya or transactional reality. Since we are talking about levels of reality and three levels, we have seen these two levels of reality, dream and waking world, and every day we experience both these worlds. So, does it mean that there is a level of reality which is higher than these two? Yes, it is. And that is called absolute reality or Paramarthik Satya. And that is when we realize our own true nature, our higher nature, which is Brahman or Atma. And this is beyond these two levels of reality. So that is what is Paramarthik Satya. So when we say world is an illusion, it is actually the uh, second level of reality, that is waking world, because it keeps changing, so it cannot be called Sat, and at the same time we cannot call it Asat also. So with this definition, even world is a illusion. Okay, I'll just read this introduction para, just two lines here. That is on page 52, and actual commentary Chanda can read. When we apply the definition of the word illusion to the mind, we realize that it too is an illusion. So Bhagavan here starts the analysis of mind, because Bhagavan wants us to know what is the mind, and he wants us to inquire into the mind. So the first, what can we say? The first conclusion that Bhagavan draws is mind is also an illusion, because mind is a flow of thoughts and its thoughts keep changing. So it is not Sat, it is not neither asat also. So it has to be an illusion. And it says that an illusion cannot exist without a substratum. Now, what does this mean? Like if you take the example of this rope and snake, if there was no rope, then there wouldn't have been the projection of snake as well. So, so an illusion cannot exist without the substratum. Here the snake is an illusion and the rope is the substratum. And similarly, Bhagavan says that the experience of the mind is only due to the non-apprehension of its real substratum. And that is, and what is this real substratum? It is the Brahman or the existence consciousness. And since it is there, we have a mind which is an illusion. And Bhagavan says that the once you have the knowledge of substratum, this illusion is no longer there. So again, using the example of rope and snake, once we once we put light on that thing and we realize that it is a rope, we immediately realize that there is no snake at all, and the illusion disappears. So Bhagavan says, if you inquire into the mind and know the reality, then mind also will get dissolved. Okay. So this was the introduction to this verse. So we are beginning like analysis of the mind, and Shloka 18 actually starts with what is mind. Vruyatasvaham वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः. So these are some Sanskrit words. Vrittaya mana. Vrittaya is thought, and this is thoughts in the mind. Vrittaya aham vrittima ashrita. And Bhagavan says thoughts are the mind and thoughts depend upon the I thought. And Bhagavan says, know that with thee aham manah. The mind is nothing but the I thought. Now thoughts make the mind. All thoughts depend upon the I thought. There know the I thought to be the mind. So we always say that mind is the flow of thoughts, but Bhagavan here is saying that actually mind is nothing but just one thought, and that is I thought. So let's read the commentary. Yeah, Chanda, can you read the first para?
Yeah. The mind is the continuous flow of thoughts. The thoughts are of innumerable objects. These thoughts may be perceivable, gross objects, or emotions like desire and anger, or ideas and concepts. Each thought must necessarily have an object. In the thought, this is a pot. The pot is the object of the thought. Moreover, the thought, this is the pot, cannot arise without a knower of the thought, the subject of the thought. Therefore, the complete thought is, I know this is a pot. Here, I is the subject and the pot is the object. Innumerable thoughts of such objects in a perpetual flow is called the mind. Usually, we seek to gain peace by trying to quieten and control this peace flow. We are not very successful in our efforts because the flow is wild, swift, and forceful.
Okay. So let's try to understand this mind as we perceive it now, okay, through a through a chart or through some animation, you can say. Okay. So what is our perception of the mind and the thoughts in the mind? Like there is a thought, this is a pot. It soon disappears and there is another thought. This also disappears, there is another thought. This all, and it keeps happening. Like thoughts are about the object or about our feelings, or it can be the intellectual thought that I am not finding this very interesting. It is all confusing. So one thought after the other, it keeps propping up in our mind. And this is what we perceive as the mind, uncontrolled flow of thoughts, and we feel it is a problem. So we want to quieten this mind, and our attempt is to quieten the mind. But Bhagavan gives a different perspective on all this flow of thoughts and about the mind. So let's read the next paragraphs. Yeah, Chanda, can you read the all the three
Yeah.
paragraphs next? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. On further inquiry, we understand that the innumerable thoughts are in fact made up of only two thoughts. They are the this thought and the I thought. In the thought, I know this pot, I am is the I thought, aham vritti, and pot is the this thought, idam vritti. The this thought keeps changing in each thought, but not the I thought. That means that the object of the thought keeps changing, but the subject remains the same. From innumerable thoughts, we now come to the analysis of two thoughts. Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi leads us up a step further. Each of this thought depends on the I thought, and therefore the mind is made up of not two thoughts but only of I thought. Only after the thought I am has arisen, we are capable of knowing any object. This is made clear when we analyze the deep sleep state. In deep sleep, the I am thought is not known, and hence no objects are known. On waking up, we first realize I am, and then alone the world of objects and beings around us, like the table and the chair, are known. By the above analysis, we understand that the thought I am or I thought alone is the mind. If we wish to solve the problem of the mind, it becomes necessary to understand the I thought. Identifying with the body, mind, intellect, we say, I am fat, I am sad, or I am bad. This false identification is the cause of our delusion and grief. This is because we do not really know the pure self.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so Bhagavan here tells us that actually we feel that it is flow of thoughts, which is the mind, but Bhagavan gives an analysis of all these thoughts that crop up in the mind. And Bhagavan says that there is an I thought. And Bhagavan says that in deep sleep, the mind actually is dormant, so there is no I thought there. And that's why in deep sleep, we are not able to like recognize or know what is happening in a dream state, in the deep sleep state. In the dream state, there is a dream world which we perceive. But in deep sleep, there is nothingness, and we only experience nothingness because the mind is dormant and there is no I thought there. So what happens, like there are a lot of objects in this world. So when we take our attention to one of these objects, there is a thought. And suppose this is a pot. So the thought is this is pot. And Bhagavan says it actually the thought is I know this is a pot. Then again it shifts our we shift our attention to another object, and again there is a thought I know this is tree. Then there is third object, and so on. So this keeps happening, and Bhagavan says that everything, every thought that crops up has two components. One is I thought, who's experiencing or knowing that object, and the second thought is about the object. And Bhagavan says that these thoughts about the objects keep changing. It is not continuous, but the only thought that is always there is the I thought. And when we wake up, like initially, it's as I said, in deep sleep, there was nothingness. So we are all blank. But as soon as we wake up, this I thought crops up. And the mind is nothing but this I thought. which generates other thoughts when it is exposed to the objects of the world or the emotions in the mind. So Bhagavan says this I thought is the main, and it is the root, you can say, because if we try, when we try to quieten the mind, we want to kill these thoughts about the objects. But however attempt we can make, these thoughts will keep on coming, and you cannot kill this thought one by one to quieten the mind. So Bhagavan says, instead of killing these thoughts one by one, you should you should try to kill this I thought, and all the thoughts that are generated by I thought will also automatically get killed. So we must understand, we have to understand now what is this I thought. So, yeah, it is always there, and that is the one which is always like at the back. I won't say at the back of the mind. That thought is always there, and only in deep sleep that thought is not there. So, what is this I thought? And this I thought is nothing but our understanding about ourselves. And how do we develop this understanding about ourselves? Definitely not by reading scriptures. It is like we develop this understanding about ourselves by superficial understanding of our experiences in this world. And what are these experiences? Like we interact with the people, and for us, like any person is nothing but his body. Like if he is no more there, then we say that that person is there because the body has dropped. So all our understanding is that other person is his body, nothing but his body, and then we can say mind and intellect also. So we also conclude that even my understanding, that's how my understanding of I develop. I am also this body, and as long as this body, mind, and intellect is there, I exist. So, this understanding of I, this is the first level of understanding, that I am body, mind, and intellect. Then now we real okay, what is the problem with this understanding, which is a wrong understanding about I, is that it experiences limitations of all the kind, because body is limited, body is decaying. So with this wrong understanding, we also develop a feeling of being incomplete and unfulfilled. So how do I want to, so I want to now expand this I. and how do I do that? By acquiring the possessions of this world, by acquiring objects of the world, by developing my own identity or position. I am a manager, now I am senior manager, I am president. So, by building these possessions, I try to expand this I. So, the effect of this wrong understanding is I always have a feeling that I am finite and decaying, because according to my understanding of myself, with my superficial experience of this world, is I am this body, mind, intellect. And if I am body, I am finite. I am only so much, and I know my body is undergoing changes, and as time progresses, my body is decaying. So I feel that I am finite, I am decaying. So there is a feeling of being incomplete and unfulfilled. So there is an inherent sorrow because of this feeling. And what I want to do, if I am incomplete and I am unfulfilled, my first desire is to become complete and become fulfilled. So, how do I try to become complete? By acquiring the objects of the world, by acquiring positions of the world. So, I develop desire for different objects of the world, and you can say I develop desire for world. I feel by acquiring different things in this world, I will become complete and fulfilled. And I all the time, like I there is that nagging sorrow. So what I want to do, I want to remove this sorrow and be happy. So when I'm exposed to this world, I make plans to acquire these objects of the world in order to become happy. So, this is what happens when I have a wrong understanding about myself, that I am incomplete and unfulfilled. So, I must acquire the objects of the world, and I experience sorrow. So, I must make plans to get this happiness from the world. And with this, what happens? Like, then, because of this wrong understanding, there are problems of the mind. And what are these problems of the mind? I develop desire, and these some of these desires get fulfilled, some don't get fulfilled. So these leave stains on my mind, and these are called vasana stains, and or mala, that is vasanas or desires. So that is the first problem of the mind. And remember that this problem is because of my wrong understanding about myself. So I said, like, let's revise later. So this is what is the revision. So in this Upadesh Saar, verse number 1 to 3 talks about karma yoga, which is like the purpose of this karma yoga is to remove this mala or desires, where I rise above myself, so that the hold of these vasanas on my mind weaken. The second problem the mind has is it always trying to make plans to be happy, and this happiness it feels is going to come from these worldly objects. So all the time it is shifting from one object to the other. All the time this mind is agitated. So verses 4 to 10 of this Upadesh Sar, it talks about Upasana or Bhakti Yoga, which is a means of quietening the mind. And we discuss like three sadhanas in this: puja, japa, and chintana. Then Then verses 11 to 12 are about Ashtanga Yoga, which is tuning the body and mind. Because these two things, body and the mind, they are the vehicles for our liberation. So, Ashtanga Yoga tells us how to tune the body so that we are able to sit for a long period of time in this contemplation or meditation. And it also gives prescription for controlling the mind. And that controlling of the mind is only temporary, because, as I said, as long as this ignorance or wrong understanding about myself is there, mind mind will continue to be there, and it will continue to get agitated. Ashtang Yoga is only to temporarily quieten the mind, and these are verses 11 to 12. Then verses 13 to 17 is actually talking about contemplation, and this temporarily and techniques of temporarily quietening the mind. And now, like, since last session, that is shloka number 17, we have started this Jnana Yoga sadhanas, and the first among this was the inquiry. And Bhagavan says, inquire into the mind, like, don't try to jump into actions without understanding the nature of the problem. So if you have to understand the nature of the mind, inquire into the mind, and you will realize that it is only an illusion. So that's how, like, we have come to this particular shloka. And again, like, if you have to look at that chart which I always use about about the about the steps of about the steps of self realization, and initial part of that is mind purification. So we can take a different look at it. Mind purification, like karma yoga. Okay, I have just discussed this. Okay, sorry, this remained. Okay, now let's try to understand about this wrong understanding of I. Okay, like when we are born, like there is this I thought, and initially this I thought is very small, and it is only like you can say restricted to our body, mind, and intellect. So once I realize that, and we develop that feeling of being unfulfilled and not contented and sorrow, then we try to expand this I. So, as I said, how do we expand this I? By acquiring possessions of the world and by acquiring positions in this world. So, this I becomes slightly longer, bigger. We try to do the same thing, run after the worldly objects. The I becomes still larger, and then like it becomes larger, and we can keep acquiring the objects of the world, keep on acquiring the positions in this world, but still this I is going to remain finite, because 1 plus 1 plus 1 can never become infinite, and our pursuit is to get to our original nature, which is infinite, and that is not going to happen through actions, through acquiring the objects of the world. So when we talk about like spirituality, the entire aim of spirituality is to correct this wrong understanding of I. And I must realize that this I is an illusion, and we have to dissolve this I, and then only we will experience the reality. And there are two ways of doing it. One is bhakti, and that is through surrender, where I becomes zero. Like we surrender to Bhagwan and say, I am nobody, and everything like is happening because of you, and that is what is bhakti. So all the actions are performed as service to Bhagwan, as Bhagwan's puja, and that is what is bhakti. And through surrender, we make this I zero. The fictitious I dissolves, and we get the vision of reality. The second method of doing it is, this is the Bhakta way, and the second is through Jnana Yoga. And Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says that you use this inquiry method, inquire into the mind, and when you do that, again the I dissolves, and you realize that this small I, the body, mind, intellect, is not me. I am this infinite eternal Brahman. So I am like infinite. So one way of doing it is to make this I zero and get the vision of reality, or the other one is through Jnana Yoga, you realize that you yourself are infinite and eternal. So just wanted to show, so that all the sadhanas that we have in spirituality, they are for like dissolving this I, like removing the ignorance or removing the wrong understanding about myself. Okay, so with this, we have come to the presentation, and now we will watch a video. Okay. Okay, and another thing you need to like, let me go back to this. Like what we are now going to pursue is this Jnana Yoga, that is by inquiry we are going to kill this I thought or correct wrong understanding of our I, and that will follow in the next shlokas and next verses. Yeah. So we will watch this video. Sorry, let me see where it is now. Yeah, this is a video from Eckhart Tolle about where do thoughts come.
I love you. So, in talking about thinking, I know this has an obvious answer, and I'm actually asking beyond this. But where do our thoughts come from? So oftentimes I'll have thoughts and I recognize them as even not my own, or possibly patterns that have existed for years and years. Jealousy thoughts or competitive thoughts or the thoughts of being threatened and fear. But truthfully, is this something is waking us up in the middle of the night that you were just talking about? What is that? Is it just part of the condition of being alive?
Thank you. The Buddha was asked a similar question. I'll tell you what he said, but then I will answer it because he didn't.
Thank you.
Somebody asked him a question like that, and he gave a parable. He said, somebody shot you with an arrow, you've got an arrow stuck in your body, and before you remove it, you're trying to find out, where did that arrow come from? Before I remove it, I need to know who shot it and why and where it came from. Let's examine this in more detail. And that was his answer. What he was saying was, our main concern should be to remove the arrow instead of trying to find out where it all started. How did it all start? Where did it all originate? That was his teaching was very practical, totally practical. Not all of Buddhism is that practical anymore. Some of it still remains practical compared to other traditions. But in the very beginning of the Buddhist teaching was just totally practical. Remove the arrow. The arrow, of course, stands for suffering, any form of suffering that is self-generated through the mind. And, okay, so that was his answer. Now, of course, I agree with that, and I'm sure we all do. Thought, going a little bit beyond it, thought is, there's such a thing as the collective mind, and so many thoughts are not your thoughts, really. They arise in the collective mind. They are energy fields or energetic entities that one could almost think of them as little bubbles floating around. They may not be literally true. I haven't actually seen any bubbles, but little bubbles, thought forms floating around, and if the thought form discovers any resonance with anything inside you, for example, any form of negativity, and then there's a thought form in the collective mind, an even heavier thought form of negativity floating around, just a slight irritation about what somebody said today. And then there's another thought form that resonates with that negativity, and then that bubble comes plump. And before you know it, the irritation has become something bigger. So you connect with the universal mind, and it moves through you. So when we deal with our so-called our own minds, is far more than our own minds, and whatever awareness arises in you is not just your benefit, it has an impact on the totality of the collective mind. When awareness arises in you, it means awareness is arising in the collective mind of humanity. So it's not just a personal thing. In the same way that any thinking that takes possession of your mind is not really personal. There is no personal thought as such. It pretends to be personal. It's the human collective mind. In the same way, of course, any emotion generated by that is not, it looks like my emotion, but it's either it's anger or it's sadness or it's jealousy or it's whatever it is. And that's basically, it's the same in everybody when it arises. It attaches itself to slightly different stories in the mind of why I'm angry, but the anger is anger, human anger. So again, it's not yours. It's you pick it up, and then it gets hold of you, and then many humans live virtually with a mind that has taken possession of them, pretends to be them, and they're stuck with it without even knowing it. If they knew it, they would be the beginning of freedom. They don't know it, and if you tell them they get angry, but they don't, the mind does, because it feels threatened. So there's still humans who won't hear this, they can't hear this, because immediately they would feel threatened by it, because they're totally possessed by the mind. You can see how, for example, certain collective thought forms can take possession of an entire country, such as happened, for example, during communism, Soviet communism in Russia, Maoism in China, millions of people all thinking the same thing. But even in our society, it's not necessarily one monolithic thought form as such as that, but there are different thought forms through the media become perpetuated, and without knowing it, often they are our most basic assumptions, how we interpret the universe and the world around us. Our basic assumption are thought forms that come out of the collective, have taken possession of us, and they're all forms that consciousness takes in the mind. And that's all fine in itself. It's fine if there is an awareness, but if thought is all there is, it becomes destructive and insane without awareness. Of course, your next question, if you want to carry that, is why? How did it all start? Where does it come from? And that's the arrow again.
Right. Yeah. In fact, my friend Jen and I use the phrase, when you ask why, that is the lie.
Yeah.
You know, just the need
Yes.
to let it go. But the thing that occurred when you shared your answer, thank you, is that the thinking isn't something I need to war against, but rather it's a tool. And it's showing me where I'm allowing myself to identify with something that I'm not,
Yes.
and thus identify with being separate
Yes.
from this one. So
Yes.
it's a wonderful tool
Yes.
that is ultimately powerless in the face of consciousness. Is that correct?
Yes. If you are identified with thinking, you say powerless. Yes, because you are not there. You are absent, virtually absent, or completely asleep when you're identified with thinking. So you are being run by patterns, or on the karmic collective patterns, mental patterns.
Right.
And so your true power comes as you wake up out of that.
Thanks, Eckhart.
Thank you.
Yeah, a different perspective. It is talking about collective mind, and like recent incidences in Bangladesh, you can see suddenly like the entire country is like feeding on hatred. There are positive instances also when India wins a test match. Actually, everybody feels top of the world. Actually, we have nothing to do with it. Okay, we are just watching it on TV, but we also feel at the top of the world. So that is what is the power of collective mind. And I think the corporates use it through advertising, like keep on creating a desire for a particular thing, and soon like you have like brand. What is brand? Brand is that only actually. Some perception about some company done through advertising.
Can you call it taking over our mind by
Yes, that's what. Hmm.
This is what we call the mob psychology.
no?
Yes. What is
This
happening
is
in
the
Bangladesh is mob
is mob
psychology.
psychology. People lose control over their own independent thinking, and they're just flowing. And this flowing is generally with extreme thoughts, either negative and very rarely positive.
Yeah. Mhm. Quite interesting video.
Brilliant video. And Eckhart Tolle is very good, but little bit difficult to understand. We take a long
Yeah.
time to finish his one page also. And there are
Yes,
two
yes.
books in the market. One is a proper one, detailed one, and the other one is the abridged form. And he also has those sessions where he leads you into meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The
watch the
most
videos
famous is
and read
Power
the
of
book.
Now. The most
Power of
famous
Now.
is Power of Now.
No, even the abridged form, he calls it Power of Now. And there, this is the most famous one. If you can read this, you don't need to read
The New
others.
Earth is also his book. That is also a very nice book.
Which one?
The New Earth.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That is also a very nice book. Yeah, there a lot of question answers are there, more than the power of now. Also, that is he says
Okay,
how
okay.
the individual can change into the how the entire earth can be changed into this like satsang we call it, na? So that kind of thing he talks about. It's very nice. That is also nice. There he talks about Ramana